We're piping into our...
And 5.
Greetings to Reykjavik, Iceland, who's piping in this morning. Not really. Good to see y'all. What's up? It's our last one for the year. I know. It's been a good one, huh? It's been fun. We're going to do Joshua 20 today, but before I do this, hey, for those of you that signed up and helped do this, thank y'all. I don't know whoever was able to make it to this. This was an epic night. And if you weren't able to come, you missed the greatest thing that ever happened, and it'll never happen again. Jesus showed up himself. No, it was awesome, y'all. It was really fun. I appreciate it. Thank you for your help. That literally made all the difference in the world. So, pretty cool. All right, so we're going to do...
Not turning into a monthly thing?
bro, it would...
If it wasn't so much work.
It was a labor-intensive thing, but guys crushed it. This is a shorter chapter. What'd you say? No. Awesome. So we're on Joshua chapter 20. Let me pray, and then we'll jump in. Jesus, thank you for the gift of these months. It's been a lot of fun, and we've learned a tremendous amount. Thank you for the gift of your word. Thank you for the gift of the book of Joshua. Thank you that you teach us what it means to walk with you and through these men, these ancient men that I would love to meet one day. Lord, we love you. Pray you open the eyes of our heart. Give us wisdom. Give us perspective. And we pray this in your holy name. Amen. I'm running slow today. We're going to pump this up. All right. So Joshua chapter 20. So basically, we've talked about the conquest. We've gone, they've entered the land. They've sacked Jericho. They've been disobedient. God's disciplined them. They have made alliances. They have pushed people out of the country. They've failed to do that. Last week we talked about Caleb. Who remembers about Caleb? What are some fun Caleb facts? Anybody remember this? The dog. Caleb was the dog. What was different about Caleb?
He was a vibrant man well into his old age.
He was 85, dude. He was strong like bull. He was a beast. And what did he do? Like he was at the end of his life. He was getting his inheritance, and what did he decide to do?
Bring it on, give me more.
That's right. He said, "Give me more." And then in his last lap around the track, he got the land that was still filled with giants, with bad guys. In the next chapter, in chapter 15, it tells the story of him going in and fighting the Anakim and going in. And it's like, he reminds me of have you ever seen the movie Braveheart? You remember the father, the two boys that had his arms cut out, or he had the arrow in him, and his two sons were arguing, like, who's going to pull it out? Like, I'm not going to pull it out. You pull the arrow out. And then the one son pulls the arrow out that loses the bet, pulls the arrow out of his dad's chest, and the dad goes and knocks him out. That's the way I picture Caleb. He's just this gnarled tree root of a man, which is awesome. So in chapter 14 that's where we see Caleb. 15 we see him clean up. I mean, he's cleaning up. He's going through cleaning out the land of giants, and talks about his victories over and over and over again. Then we get into a lot of what's in Joshua is a lot of, the chronicling who has what from here on out, right? So it's a lot of this, the tribe of Gad got this thing, and these people, and it's just a lot of that kind of shuffling. It's all important, but you need to take a little bit of a crowbar and get in. So, but if you're ever interested, because we're going to have to skip over, we just don't have enough time to cover everything. But if you're ever interested, what you would do is you read in there, you would find the person's name, and you would just spend some time searching. I'm just giving you a little tool. You can just search it. Just do Google searches, really, honestly, or ChatGPT or whatever. You go and find the person's name, or you find the land. What's the significance of this location? That's this weird Hebrew word, and it'll tell you, it'll build these connections. It's pretty neat. So that was 15. We go through a lot of distribution of the land. Then we get to chapter 20. And this is, the land is being distributed, but this is a unique thing that's happening here. And who wants to read chapter 20? Or who wants to read the first 6 verses, and then someone can read the back half? It's not very long, and not a lot of tricky words.
Then the Lord said to Joshua, say to the people of Israel, appoint the cities of refuge, of which I spoke to you through Moses, that the manslayer who strikes any person without intent or unknowingly may flee there. They shall be for you a refuge from the avenger of blood. He shall flee to one of these cities and shall stand at the entrance of the gate of the city and explain his case to the elders of that city. Then they shall take him into the city and give him a place, and he shall remain with them. And if the avenger of blood pursues him, they shall not give up the manslayer into his hand, because he struck his neighbor unknowingly, and did not hate him in class. And he shall remain in that city until he has stood before the congregation for judgment, until the death of him who is high priest at the time. Then the manslayer may return to his own town and his own home, to the town from which he fled.
Good. Somebody pick up 7.
So they set apart Kadesh and Galilee in the hill country of Naphtali, and Shechem in the hill country of Ephraim, and Kiriath Arba.
I totally lied to you, man. There are lots of names in this last part. Go ahead.
Got punked.
Sorry.
That is Hebron, in the hill country of Judah. And beyond the Jordan, east of Jericho, they appointed Bezer in the wilderness on the tableland, from the tribe of Reuben, and Ramoth in Gilead from the tribe of Gad, and Golan in Bashan from the tribe of Manasseh. These were the cities designated for all the people of Israel, and for the strangers sojourning among them, that anyone who killed a person without intent could flee there, so that he might not die by the hand of the avenger of blood, till he stood before the congregation.
Boom. It's awesome. So that's kind of a cool passage. What leaps out to you when you read that the first time? What strikes you? What are you noticing in it? What's that?
You could be gone for a long time from your family just because you made it inadvertently hit somebody. Am I reading that right? I mean,
Yeah, it's if you kill somebody,
okay.
right?
So Billy, I've never really noticed the word manslayer. I mean, that's just not, is that something like common to what we would have called manslaughter?
Manslayer, someone who has killed a person. It's also Matt's band. Manslayer. It is it's a man, that's the phrase they use here, a manslayer, someone who has killed another person. All right, and we'll see they're making a distinction between a murderer and a manslayer. So it's someone who's killed someone, we think unintentionally. We're not really sure fully, right? Versus just saying someone's a murderer. But it's an interesting Hebrew construction, the way the word's written. If you would translate it literally, it's, slayer of man or whatever it is. So manslayer.
And they literally go on his trip to another place of refuge to be judged.
That's it. We'll dig into it. So
Versus retaliation, right?
yeah. What's that?
To avoid eye for an eye, maybe?
Yeah, to avoid eye for an eye, or maybe to get it. We don't know.
So they were seeking shelter. We're going there.
Refuge. These are refuge cities. It's very interesting.
It's interesting that this hinges on the death of the high priest at the time. The high priest dies, he can go home,
Yeah,
which that could happen tomorrow. Maybe he doesn't want to go home tomorrow.
that's right.
Or it could be 30 years. Do I have to stay there until the guy dies?
Who knows, man? Pretty crazy. High priest. It's a lot of metaphor, a lot of implications in this. Anything else you see? We'll jump in. All right. Verse 1. Then the Lord said to Joshua, say to the people of Israel, appoint the cities of refuge, of which I spoke to you through Moses, that the manslayer who strikes any person without intent or unknowingly may flee there. They shall be for you a refuge from the avenger of blood, which is a cool job title if you ever were looking for one. So Joshua, the Lord said to Joshua, this is like, when you hear, when the Lord said to, this is prophetic language, right? This is when you usually say, it's a thus saith the Lord kind of thing, right? So when you hear the phrase, thus saith the Lord, that is always anytime in the Old Testament you hear thus saith the Lord, pops up a flag. You're saying that's a prophet, right? Or this is a prophetic conversation that's happening here. Meaning what God's saying is, I'm telling you something very specific, and what I'm telling you, either the rule or the command or the judgment or whatever I'm speaking into, this is directly from God. So when he says it, it's coming to the prophet, and the prophet's one job is to faithfully communicate that very thing or to execute that thing. You can't waver in any way, shape, or form. It is the role it is the prophetic role. And that's generally an uncomfortable thing, right? Prophets, people always say, it'd be cool to have been a prophet. Not cool to be a prophet. Not good lives. Dudes which is the basic rule of thumb on this side of the curtain of heaven, the closer you get to the Lord, the harder it gets sometimes on this side of heaven. But the more you want it, all right? And the prophets were no exception. I think Isaiah spent 2 years of his life doing this performance art piece, walking around without any clothes on, trying to demonstrate who Israel was and their vulnerability before. So I mean, they were it was bad. So thus saith the Lord. He's speaking to Joshua in prophetic language. This is not God's idea what's about to come. It's Yahweh is the architect here. All right, and one of the things you see here is that two things. One is now they're in the conquest. They've distributed. The conquest is, quote unquote, over. Not really, because it keeps going. And the God is still a living God. Like when you see God there, it's not. He doesn't like sit back and he's wound the clock and let it go. You still see that God is a living God. He is still, and one, he's a living God. But the second thing is you see him. He's playing the role of a king here. All right, so there's a kingly voice that because he's establishing these places here. All right, and what's happened is that it's significant because the reason that matters and the reason that only kings can set geographies, defining a legal geography here, and the reason that matters is this: Israel doesn't have a king, do they? They are a loose confederation of tribes. This is good to know because anytime you read the Old Testament, it's like, wait, what does this look like? They are a loose confederation of tribes. They were wanderers, that they were to be tied together and to be held together by this one God and this one common religious code. They all had very different personalities in their tribes, and this comes out more as they go down. But they weren't to have a king. The entire purpose of God's choosing Israel is that you're going to be different than every other nation. Like I'm established, I don't want you to be like these other nations. I don't want you to have a king. I don't want you to have armies. I don't want you to have all these different things. And then this is when we move, you'll see in the next chapter, or the next book rather, it's the book of Judges. They don't have kings, they have judges, which are these people that raise up people go work, they're living their lives until an enemy comes or something threatens them or something that's of national importance, and then God raises up a judge. And this person, the crisis generally revolves around some sort of idol worship. The judge comes up, he rules for a little while, so the crisis averts, everybody returns back to God, the judge goes back to his job like baking bread or whatever the judge does, and then the people start drifting into idol worship or whatever happens again, and then they raise up another judge. That's why it keeps going, right? So here, God has established himself as a king. In which, again, book of Judges, you realize things are going bad for them in the first part of 1 Samuel, where we see the first king established in Israel, because they are demanding a king. They were like, we need a king. We want to be like other nations. And you can tell it's gone really bad for Israel, because the entire intention of God carving them out is so they wouldn't be like other nations. Okay. So Israel, so God's speaking as a king. It says to people, appoint cities of refuge, to which I spoke to you through Moses. So Israel is this nation, and as a result of it being a nation, it's filled with people. And as a result of it being filled with people, it's filled with a lot of stupidity. Right? And people do dumb stuff. Every once in a while, something will happen, this is true of us, it's true of anything, that people kill people. Right? And so by accident, if something, say an axe head falls off, or I run over someone with my cart, or I feed someone something and they die, or they get poisoned, or I kill someone intentionally. Now this is an ancient culture, right? And again, back in those days, there weren't really established judicial courts and things like this. They had this loose confederation of tribes. So this ancient world, they lived with this culture of blood vengeance. All right? They had this idea, this blood vengeance. It was before, like I said, it was before courts and police, and all the justice that you would see was clan-based. Right? So whatever clan or tribe or people group, and this wasn't just true of Israel, this was true of every person in that region during that time. So what happens if someone kills your brother, or something happens to someone in your clan and you don't do anything about it? What that is it's a sign of, brings shame to your tribe, and it's a sign of weakness. So this, again, you cannot think like this. You cannot think like an American when you look at these people. Life was very cheap there. Blood flowed freely. The blood flowed like wine. A lot of blood that happened there, and tribal honor and peace through strength was of massive importance. That's still very true in the Middle East. So, if you had weakness and you demonstrated weakness, it would invite attacks. It would show your vulnerabilities. So this blood vengeance was a social duty. This is true. So it was a social duty. If something happened to someone in your clan, you had a moral obligation to take care of it. All right? You had the lex talionis was the dominant rule there. You said it earlier. Do you know what that is? That's that Latin phrase, lex talionis. It's the phrase for an eye. You cut out my eye, I cut out your eye. You cut off, you run over my chicken, I get to run over your chicken. So part of it was, but this was the idea of lex talionis, the idea of eye for an eye, is that it was merciful. Let me tell you why it's merciful. Because if someone comes to my clan and said they ran over Chris, or they accidentally pushed Chris into their pit of crocodiles. And I'm like, dude, I love Chris. That sucks. Eye for an eye, but I'm pissed. So I want 2 eyes for an eye. And I go in and I'm like, I get overzealous, which is really common. The idea of this eye for an eye principle is that it creates restraint. Then I'm like, oh, you killed mine, I'm gonna Anakin Skywalker everybody and just kill the entire race of people. Like, we're not doing that, okay? So, and part of this system, there was someone that if someone throws Chris into crocodiles, we gather as a clan, and I said, all right, who's going to be the blood avenger? And then there's a person that is either hired or is like the designated blood avenger for the clan. Kind of a cool gig, right? I mean, you'd be a hard dude. And this is the guy that acts quickly, decisively, but he's the dude that goes and collects payment. All right? He's the one that goes, and if someone does this, they send him out, and he's the hooded rider that goes and takes the eye, or takes the tooth, or takes the chicken, or throws the guy in the crocodile pit. Again, the idea in theory, this whole thing of blood vengeance, it's trying to avoid things from being chaotic, right? In a pre-state society, it's where It's the best form of orderly justice, and it's kind of an agreed upon thing. The problem was, kind of like we described earlier, what would happen in these places if someone from Clan A kills a guy from Clan B. Guy from Clan B, or the Blood Avenger, would come in and he would exact revenge or take too much blood. And he would literally, they would kill, multiple people. And what happened is this created generational violence. Well, you did this, now you took too much, now I'm going to do this. Well, I'm going to do, and all of a sudden, this is where these clan wars began to start. This is how the Hatfields and McCoys began. It's true, right? You know the old Hatfield McCoys? They've been feuding in the West Virginia hills for 150 years, and then why are y'all fighting? How did this start? No one knows. They're Hatfields. We just hate them. They're McCoys. We just hate them. So this is what was going on. Okay? So all of a sudden, God comes along, and he said, I'm going to do this differently. I'm going to set you apart. I am going to make, the rest of the world does it. I am creating a system of justice that's different. I'm going to make you, again, my billboard to the world is different than everything else. So he creates these cities, these cities of refuge. So if one person kills another person, and this is true for an Israelite or a non-Israelite, and it's not premeditated, right? Or so at least you're arguing that it's not premeditated. The idea is that this person would run to one of these cities, right? And this was a refuge. It's not an escape hatch for the guilty. It's for people that are like, look, I got to argue my case. So they go in there, and again, like God's making a point. It's the city of refuge. He's setting it apart. It's a covenant institution, and it's one that when you read in the book of Numbers, it's one that Moses told them, you're going to build these things. So this is didn't just happen. God talked to Moses back in the desert. I think it's like Numbers 35 or something like that, and said, hey, we're going to do this kind of thing. Now that they're in here, God's saying, all right, now that we've got the land, everybody's got their little chunk, everybody's got their back 40, this is what we're going to do. So they're evenly spread out. So you got 3 to the east of Jordan and 3 to the west of the Jordan. Which means if you're in one corner and you do something, and you see the Blood Avenger like sharpening his knife, there's one nearby at all points. Like you can always get to it. So what would happen is, let's go here. So chapter 4. I remember verse 4. He shall flee to one of these cities. So if the person kills the person, he shall, and they don't do it on purpose, or so they say. He shall flee to one of these cities, and shall stand at the entrance of the gate of the city and explain his case to the elders of that city. Then they shall take him into the city and give him a place, and he shall remain with them. So the manslayer, so he screws up, realizes like we're in a sitch here. He runs to the city because they're spread out evenly, and he goes to the gate of the city. You might know what the significance of the city gates are. We always hear about the city gates in the Old Testament. Anybody want to take a stab at what that's about? It's all good. Yeah, it's a gate to the city. So it's symbolic. So he's standing outside, right? So it's symbol. So there's kind of an element of caution here. So they come to the gates of the city. There's always what you'll see is they always, if they need to do a trial, or they need to mitigate some danger or discern a danger, they always do it at the gate of the city. All right? Because the gate is sort of like the ancient version of City Hall. It's where the courtrooms, it's like a courtrooms where it was a political center. It's where they would take anything that had the potential to kind of boil over. They would take it over to kind of, let's take this out. Let's take this outside. It's kind of a Patrick Swayze moment, right? Roadhouse. Let's go outside. So they take it out to the edge of the city. It's where it's very public, right? So when they do these things, it's a public space, so there's no backroom deals. It's not one guy going, hey, let's do this. Like you can't go into the judge's chambers. Everyone's seeing what's going on here. And so what happens is the manslayer, the guy who's killed this other person by accident, he's not admitted into the city yet. He comes and he's saying, manslayer, I'm here to plead my case. And they're like, don't come in yet. Because if you bring this guy in too quickly, you're bringing in chaos. And they're like, we're going to hear your case. So what happens? It keeps murderers out, all right? So they don't just come in and they bring, blood guilt into the city. And it's justice. They begin to, unpack the situation a little bit. So, and it says that he will, what's it say? What's the words? He shall stand at the entrance of the gate of the city and explain his case to the elders of that city. Literally declare his words. It's not a trial, but kind of like a little preliminary hearing. And again, this is not, these refuge cities aren't a place for, they aren't a place for just for people that are murdered to hide. It's a place that they're trying to bring reasonable justice here. Like, what is motive? Like, what is your intentions? Why does that matter? For them and for us, like, what's the difference?
What's in your heart?
What's that?
What's in your heart?
So what's in my heart? It determines what's in my heart. And why is what's in my heart different? Like, why does it matter? What do we think?
People make mistakes.
Yeah.
You're always going to make a mistake. So.
There's a big difference between me stepping on your foot as I'm walking by you versus me walking by you and trying to break your toe on purpose. Right? That's why so often, like, if you do something like that, what's the first thing out of your mouth? If you stepped on someone's foot or you say something that's the wrong thing at the wrong time. What? You say, I'm sorry, but what? I didn't mean to. The quickest thing is, we got to get it off of us. I didn't mean to. No, that's not what I meant. I didn't mean, right? But there's still a guilt. You still have done something. So this is what the beauty of this picture is. And this is a good thing for us to remember. Like, when we hurt, and this is great with our wives, all right? It's great in any relationship, but our wives are a glaring example. How many times in your life have you misstated something, or they've misheard something, or maybe you've just been a big dumb, your intention wasn't to say the thing or do the wrong thing, but you did the wrong thing. You stepped on the proverbial foot, right? And how much of your time is spent, I didn't mean toing it. I didn't mean to. What are we doing when we say, I didn't mean to? What?
Kind of apologizing.
No, you're not.
We're saying we're not wrong.
You're saying I'm not wrong. Right? You're not apologizing. You're saying I'm not wrong. And why are you saying I'm not wrong? What happens if you're not wrong?
You have no fault.
You have no fault. And if you have no fault, then what? What's the implication of that? You have no liability, and you have no liability in your relationship. Let's just use your wife. In your relationship with your wife, how does that change the scenario? She has no right to be mad. How you feel is wrong. So this is not about me. This is really about your feelings. You're wrong. I'm the right one. I didn't mean to. Right? Can everyone relate to this? Yes, everyone can relate to this. Right? We do this not just with our wives. We can do it in a zillion different contexts. But at the same moment, we've still hurt someone, right? Intended or not intended, right? So what's even though our motive wasn't there, we are still the vehicle, the instrument of pain in someone's life. So what's the prescription in a moment like that? What would be the right thing to do? Genuine apology. What does that look like? Say you, Patrick, so like you didn't mean to, you were tired, you got up, and you stepped on your wife's new kitten, and kitten is no longer around. I don't know. Dog, whatever. You didn't mean to. What's your heart? What do you say in those moments?
I'm truly sorry for my mistake.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, you still did it, right? And there's still right? Why is it so hard for us to Why is it so hard as men? Just be like, oh man, I'm sorry.
Shows weakness.
You don't like to be wrong. Why don't you like to be wrong? Because it shows, if I'm wrong, it shows weakness. What else does being wrong show?
Lost control.
Yeah. What'd you say? Inferiorities. You've lost control. Shortcomings. What's that? Yeah, right? That's a good one. It erodes your authority. Like, so I have the capacity to do this stuff. Like, I'm not like, oh man, to just own something. It doesn't like, because we have this perception that to be in charge means to never be wrong or to never have it wrong. What's that?
Intelligence.
And yeah. We do something like that, to confess it, right? We just showing like I'm a dumbass. Like I just did something, right? And no one wants to confess that. Right? And in a blood culture like that, there's a lot of truth in that. How many times have you done something with your wife that you never intended to? And maybe you haven't done this, and if you haven't, you need to. And it's a hard thing to do. And you know, like you didn't mean it, you know, and you got to choke back that defense. And you just say, I am so sorry. You're right. Has anyone done that? I hope some of us, right? What happens in that moment? Do you look inferior? Do you look weak? Do you look like you're not a good leader? Do you look like what happens? You raised your hand. What happens?
If she feels understood, then her walls come down. And forgiveness begins.
Wait, her walls come down. So she lets you pass the gate of the city, right? She lets you in. And all of a sudden, so what I hear you saying is it creates an intimacy, not robs it, right? It creates an intimacy, right? Yeah.
It actually creates strength too.
It creates strength. What do you mean?
Well, I think showing that weakness actually ends up in the long run making you look stronger, or showing that you can be stronger and love them well, love them better.
Yeah, you have the strength to step into that place in a vulnerable way and care for them the way they need to be cared for, rather than defend some fragile image of what you think an ego thing like that, right?
And then she can trust you
Why is that trustworthy?
because she sees that you're genuine and you are trying to do the right thing. Even if you've done the wrong thing, you're owning it up. You're trying to do the right thing for her.
Yeah.
You're her protector.
Yeah, and you're with her, right? You're side by side.
Told me all about this, so this is why I
Jay has got this. Yeah.
The minister, Mary Kate and I, said that the apology is, I'm sorry, please forgive me.
Yes.
And that then puts it on the other to take the onus to forgive you.
Yeah.
So you are completely, at their mercy.
At their mercy, right? As long as the apology is sincere.
But no matter what, she will never forget it, ever.
There's might be truth in that, but that's the journey, man, isn't it? What were you gonna say, Sid?
I'm wondering, how legitimate is an apology for you to make it or for it to be received if the context is something that you premeditated in a disregard for the other person?
If it's premeditated, man, it just depends. It requires some self-awareness and some work on your part. Like men are so functional. Like, if I do something, I'm like, oh, I didn't mean that. Sorry, babe. Sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry. And when I do it that way, I'm just trying to face palm the issue out of the way and just move on. Let's just go. Like, I get it. All right, dude, sorry. Big, bad, dumb Billy again. I did it. Right? And when I do it that way, I'm not really, you're the dumb one for being offended by this, right? Totally. And you're just being unreasonable. You're being crazy because you're not dwelling, right? You know, it's all that kind of stuff.
Better yet, when you say sorry, but.
In the authentic apology, there's two key components. One is you have to really understand what you really have to have descended in it. And if you find the word "but" is in the middle of that sentence of your apology, it invalidates the only thing that matters is what comes to the right of the "but." I'm really sorry, but if you hadn't done that, or "but I just woke up tired," "but" is trying to get it off me. So "but," that's a great word that we love to use, but it will unravel an apology. And then your wife will become the avenger of blood. No. We're gonna push into forgiveness in a minute, a little bit deeper. Verse 5, and if the avenger of blood pursues him, so the guy's made his case at the gate, they've vetted it, like, okay, you're legit, we'll come in, we'll hear it. Like, we'll have a trial. If the avenger of blood pursues him, they shall not give up the manslayer into his hands. So they will protect. The avenger of blood comes, they're like, you know, the hooded rider approaches with his sickle and he says, I'm here for blah, blah, blah. And they said, nope, we got him, man. He's under our protection because so if he comes, they will not give up the manslayer into his hand because he struck his neighbor unknowingly and did not hate him in the past. So the blood avenger is expected to pursue. All right? So that's it. It's expected to pursue. They didn't wait for a testimony or a trial. Just important note here, this system that God's establishing here, he's not abolishing the idea of a blood avenger, just regulating it. Right? He's just regulating it. They don't give them up. The city elders, they have a legal obligation. So the community protects this vulnerable person. This justice that they're offering is not privatized. Okay? It's not done in the back rooms. God's mercy restrains even the rightful, righteous anger. What's righteous anger mean? It's justified, right? So when someone genuinely does something to you, when someone genuinely offends you or they do that thing and they don't have the benefit of, I didn't mean to. They're like, oh, bro, I totally meant to. Right? I meant to. Oh, I stepped on your toe. Dude, you broke my toe. Oh, I know. Like, I'm sure it was an accident. Nope. It was not an accident. I broke your toe. Or it doesn't even have to be that egregious. Someone's done something to you, or let's go back to our marriages. If your wife does something that you've had a genuine conversation, like, hey, honey, when this happens, I got to be honest, when you do that, or you spend money that way, or you do this thing, it really makes me feel disrespected. Or vice versa. She comes to you. Let's reverse it. Like, I've told you 100 times, like, not to do this, and we do that thing again. Do they have the right to be upset? Yeah, right? It's righteous anger. Righteous anger is the most dangerous kind of anger. Why is that? What do you think? Why is it so dangerous to us?
You feel justified, so you can do whatever you want to get revenge.
Yeah, dude. Because I got the justification, man. It gives me every reason not to forgive. Be wary of your righteous anger. Like, the goal in marriage, the goal in life is not to be right. Because you ain't right. I mean, you're right, but you can be right. You can win in the courtroom, but you will lose relationship. Right? Righteous anger is the most dangerous kind of anger because it gives us every reason not to forgive. We live in a country that is marked by righteous indignation, righteous outrage. Everybody feels right. I feel right. You feel right. And I'm not saying you're not right. Maybe you are right. Okay, you're right. I'm wrong. We have nothing. There's no relationship. It's one of the things I always say, and I'm kind of making light of this. I'm like, you can either be married or you can be right. And you realize sometimes that letting yourself, like you see something in your marriage or in a relationship or whatever, and you realize like, I don't necessarily agree, but you humble yourself in a way, and you walk in and you realize that doesn't matter. The being right piece doesn't matter, right? That's what the Apostle Paul writes. He's like, why not be wronged? Like if someone is why not be wronged? Now, that doesn't mean that you can't. I'm elevating a principle here. I'm not saying that you can't. I mean, there are genuine things in our life and our marriage. We're like, hey, man, I need, like, that's not cool. That really hurts me. Or we got to do that. But the goal is not to be right. The goal is to be connected. Right? The goal is to be whole, to be in relationship. Verse 6, and he shall remain in that city until he has stood before the congregation for judgment, until the death of him who is the high priest at that time. Then the manslayer may return to his hometown and his own home, and the town for which he flees. So the point of this is this. The guy, even if he did it unintentionally, they come in, they say, okay, you didn't mean to do it. You get refuge in this city, but you can't leave. You've done this thing. We know you didn't mean to, but the refuge, it's real protection, but it also has a real cost. Meaning like, dude, and it's fun, but it's pragmatic. Like, we're going to keep you here because if you go out there, we don't trust that they're not going to start some tribal clan. But the point is that the refuge, it saves his life, but not without altering it. Okay? So this guy has to stay there. This guy has to stay there until the high priest dies. And we'll talk about that in a second. So he has this formal hearing. He goes before the congregation. They find out if he's guilty. He has to stay. And the idea is that this salvation comes, but it doesn't come without altering his life. And that's true of all salvation, right? Or at least of our salvation in Jesus. So when Jesus, like we say, does Jesus accept you? Does he accept you fully? What does that mean? When you say Jesus accepts you. Unpack that. What does it mean to be accepted by Jesus?
Looks past our flaws, our sin, our imperfectness.
He looks past them? What do you mean by looks past them? So I'm not trying to trap you. I'm just curious. Unpack that. What do you mean? To look past them? Is he looking past them? Is he ignoring them?
Not ignoring them, but just doesn't see that. He sees his creation perfect.
He sees your flaws for all they are. He sees the fullness of it. Right? And that's I accept that you are jacked up, man. I see it, and his acceptance is walking in and accepting, like, you're a moral reprobate. You, like, no matter how you dress it up, you are running the other direction for me. All right? He sees it and he accepts it. And that's where the forgiveness, he comes and he offers that forgiveness in that. That's the ability to accept. Like, all right, that's where you are. What's a loving God do in a place like that? If you saw one of your kids and they were, doing fentanyl or whatever it is, man, addicted to porn, just something that you know is going to unravel them. And you come in and you see them and they confess it and they see you right there. And you're like, man, I accept you where you are. What does love demand in that spot? What's the demand? What would you do? What is it? If Ed tells me he caught his kid doing fentanyl after a 14-hour binge of his daily binge of pornography, And he goes, yeah, I went in there, I just saw him, and I was like, man, I love you. And I got up and left. I'd be like, you did what? Like, what would my expectation be? What would you do?
I would try to get him help.
You'd get him help, right?
Love him too much to not leave him.
So if you left him there and you just like tousled his hair and said, all right, I'm going to work, I would question how much you loved him, right? I'd be like, dude, that's crazy, man. It's unloving. Does that mean you didn't accept where he is? No. See, what love is, and this is true of the gospel, like Jesus meets you where you are. But he will never leave you where you are. Period. Because where you are, that's the reason he has to meet you where you are. Because we're so far out, we're dead, we're lost in our transgressions, we're all these things. But the whole premise is he's going to bring us to a place of life, a place of wholeness. Man, this idea of that we are being transformed into something holy and something good and something that we need to be transformed into something good is totally lost in our world today. I read this thing the other day. I saw such a brilliant point. You ever notice the shift in Disney movies? Back in the day, it used to be, there was the Cinderella. There was a Oliver Twist or whatever. There's this sort of wretched thing or this undesirable thing that would go on this journey and become something beautiful. They would be transformed into something that they were intended to be. That was like all the Disney movies. All the Disney movies now, or at least it's very common to see, buddy, is there's a wretched thing. And they go on this journey of the world to accept them as they are and leave them where they are. It's a journey of acceptance. It's not about a journey of transformation, it's a journey of acceptance. And what it is if you ever, anyway, you'll see it. If I make you aware of it, you'll start noticing it. And what I'm saying about that to us is this. Like, our hearts, man, if the gospel is God accepts you, it's true. But if that's it, then we are in desperate trouble. Because I need a God I need a God who's a Savior that rescues me and pulls me out of these things. So how does he do that? He does this through refuge, through the avenger of blood. All this kind of speaks to the core of what we are. See you, brother. So let me ask you this. This speaks to the heart of forgiveness. If something happens, say, Sid, you do something terrible to me, right? Say you ran over my wife or one of my kids, right? And you did it and you were unceremoniously, you kind of did it on purpose, or you just wronged me deeply, stole from me, okay? Let's use that. You stole from me. I'm really wounded by that. I'm really hurt by that. What's my response going to be to you? I'm going to be angry. And I'm going to feel like you... Uh-oh. I think I just shut off my Zoom call with Jeff. Sorry, dude. Oh, maybe he's still there. Are you still there, Jeff? Oh, well, I'll figure it out. So, that I feel bad. So if I did that to you, if you hurt me and you did something like that, what would you owe me?
Accountability.
Would you agree that you owe me something? If you did something to me, would you owe me? Would a debt be formed?
If it was an accident?
It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, even if you did it on purpose. If you hurt me in any way, shape, or form, even if it was an accident.
Yes.
Yes, you'd owe me.
Yes.
Sorry, dude. I accidentally closed my laptop there.
Irony, you closed it right after you said, let's just say you wronged me.
And I wronged you. Let's just say that's good. All right, so what we're saying is Sid has hurt me. And what happens is when you hurt me, a debt is formed. You owe me. You've done something to owe me. And at this point, I am the collector. I am the blood avenger. Okay? I am the blood avenger. And the blood avenger says, you owe me, and I did discern, what do you owe me? If you've hurt me in some way, you've stolen from me, you've done something, you owe me to you either need to restore the thing that you have taken from me. Like you need to give me that money back. But guess what else, dude? You've caused some pain in my life. So you owe me a little interest. You owe me a little bit more than that. That's the kind of the notion of punitive damages that we do in court today. But the idea is this: when you wrong me, you owe me pain. You need to suffer the same way that I suffered. And I am not going to, that's why if someone punches you, you punch them back. That's your reflex. But you don't punch them once, you punch them twice because A, you've hit them, and now I've exacted what you owe me, but you owe me a little bit more. So you owe me pain for the inconvenience of what you're doing. That is the nature of debt, right? You've stolen from me, you pay the debt off, but you actually need to pay me back more. All right? But so as the blood avenger, I come and you got to pay me back, and you owe me pain. The problem is that how much is enough? Because we never forget. Like you made the joke about, she'll remind you about that. No, we all do that. We never forget. And our debt is this, man. We all know this to be true. That when we are wronged, I want to collect that debt, and I want to collect more. And if you've hurt me, I need to collect pain out of you, and you got to pay me back more. It's just I don't even need to argue that. You guys get it, all right? Now I want you to imagine you're the Creator God. That you're the Creator God, and out of nothing you've created something. And you've created something in your image, and it is over the overflow of who you are, and you've created all of these individuals that were meant to display your glory and to do all these things, and they rebel. And they not only do they rebel, and they don't just function the way you want them to function, but they go run in the opposite direction. They willfully commit the murder that you find so deplorable. They willfully violate. And they're not innocent, like accidental, my axe head fell off and hit Johnny in the head and killed him. They're like, I put my axe in the middle of Johnny's head. Or we do, and that is what you see. God is wronged. We have stolen from him. All right? Can you see it through this lens? What do we owe God? What do we owe him? We got to fill in that debt, right? Don't we? We have a debt. How do we pay that debt? What is the debt? It's a blood debt. It's a blood debt. And there's no way that I can pay it to the... Can you pay the fullness of that? Because the blood avenger needs it. That God's justice must be satisfied. All right? See, the point is, and then forgiveness, so let me back up a little bit. I missed this point. But so Sid, say you stole from me. And I say, all right, dude, you can't pay it back. I forgive you. And I release you from that debt. Okay, you don't have to pay back the $1 million you stole from me. What happened to that debt? Is it gone?
No, and furthermore, if it's not dealt with, you open up the door for society to appease and accommodate.
Totally, but I'm just talking about you and me. So if I just say I release you, you've stolen $1 million from my bank account, you squandered it, and I release you from your debt, you're free. There's still $1 million hole in my bank account.
Transferred back to you.
It's transferred back to me. So what I'm saying is there's a debt that is owed that you owe me, but I'm going to pay it myself. I'm going to pay it myself. I am willing to absorb that. I will pay the $1 million now. That is the nature of forgiveness. So when you were wronged, and your wife hurt you, or a friend hurt you, or someone betrays you, and you say, I forgive you, there's still this sort of pain thing that someone owes you, right? But what you're saying when I forgive you, it's not that I'm not having feelings about it. It's meaning that I'm not hurt by it. To say I forgive you doesn't mean that I'm not having some reaction. It just means that I'm not making you pay this anymore. I'm going to pay it down myself. I'm not going to make you pay me the thing you can't ever pay it. Now I'm going to pay it down myself. How do I do that? Oh, that's why forgiveness is not this one-time journey where I walk through the door of forgiveness and then it's over with. It's like a spiral staircase that I'm constantly passing this thing that's offended me again and again. And I got to re-forgive and re-forgive because I got to go through this process of like, I'm not going to punish this person. I'm not going to pay. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And we go through this process, right? So I'm going to pay the debt down. I'm going to pay down what you could never pay down. How do we do that? Go back to the story I was just telling you about God. We've offended him. We owe him. We owe him a debt we can never pay. So what does God do? He says, I'm going to pay it myself. I will assume your role and let the blood avenger come and exact every penny out of me in Jesus. So when he climbs on, the debt is paid. And he says, I will pay it down. And when we walk, the only way that we can functionally pay down our debt or pay other people's debts in forgiveness in our marriages or in our friendships is by walking into the gospel narrative of what I just described. That God does that for me, has done that for me, and I have to remind myself and grind that into my heart by the daily. Is this making sense? I know it's a very scattered way of explaining it. Forgiveness is a tricky thing, man. When we say, when I say God's forgiven me, man, we're like, oh, it's freedom. It is, but we got to stop and reflect. Like, it's freedom for me. It's costly for him. Very costly. In the same way that we say, all right, I'm going to go on a journey of forgiveness with other people, we create a freedom for them, but we have to be willing to accept, like, hey, if someone says, forgive me, are you really willing to pay down that cost? Are you really willing to pay down that cost? It's hard. It's a lot easier to say yes, so they'll kind of go away, and then you realize I'm actually going to just kind of resent them quietly. Which means I'm just going to make them pay in my mind all the time. You son of a, all that kind of stuff. Anyway.
But what about the idea of not accepting their forgiveness? Or, no, I don't want you to take on that burden. That's my burden. I did this. I need to do this.
Oh, if they try to forgive you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be pride. I mean, I don't know. It depends on the context. See, Vincent, it just depends on the context, right? It can be prideful. Sometimes you can receive forgiveness, but still, and be forgiven, but still try to, hey man, let me help you rebuild your fence that I got, drove through, or whatever it is, But the point I want to illustrate here, and the point I'm just trying to hold up, is that forgiveness is costly. Always is. And we will only be a people marked by forgiveness. We will only be people who know how to forgive. Our ability to forgive others hinges directly on our ability or our willingness or our journey on how we have received forgiveness from God the Father. Period. If you've not gone on that journey, if you've not truly walked into that place, the forgiveness you give this side of heaven will be shallow. It just will be. You will love others with the same kind of love you believe you've received from God. The blood avenger cometh. Always comes. Right? And in this case, the Lord stood in our place and was received, paid the price to the avenger, or paid the price of justice for us, so that we can live free, but also so that we can pay that forward and do that with one another. All right. Amen. Let me pray, and we'll land the plane. Lord Jesus, thank you for these men. Thank you for this journey we've been on. Thank you for the book of Joshua. What a cool book. It's filled with so many things that are just amazing. Lord, I thank you that for the lessons you've taught us here. I thank you for the relationships you've built. We will bless us in these months down and stir our hearts as we pick it back up in January, Lord, to love you and to serve you and to become better men. We love you, Jesus, and we pray this all in your holy name. Amen. Thanks, boys. Good times. Yeah. See you, brother.
Thanks, Billy.
We'll talk.
Appreciate you doing this, man.
Talk soon.
I'll talk to you. All right.
See you.
Right. Snap, crackle, pop. That's just what they are.
Well, that conversation just reminded me of an awful day.
Oh, good. I
I'm
know.
so sorry.
I know.
I still,
I know.
I'm so sorry.
I know.
Yeah, just heard something like that.
And I hope, I've thought about it so many times.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see
We'll see you soon, okay?
That was good.
That's fun.
Well,
Good. That's a good book, isn't it?
It's one of the best. Josh, Caleb, man, you can't beat that stuff.